When the stage lights went out, nobody could believe it. Marilyn Monroe had just faced the cameras for the last time in that iconic white dress. But at that moment, no one knew that storms were raging inside Hollywood's brightest star. The truth hidden behind that perfect smile everyone saw would shock everyone. That night, August 4th, 1962, as Marilyn reached for her phone in her Brentwood home, there was a slight tremor in her hands. When she heard the voice of the person she called, the sparkle in her eyes was different now. Because that phone conversation wasn't just a farewell, but the truly shocking thing was the content of that conversation. Little Norma Jeane Mortenson, born on June 1st, 1926 at Los Angeles General Hospital, had known what loneliness meant since the day her mother disappeared in the corridors of a mental institution. Could that little girl, shuttling between foster families, have seen in her reflection the power that would one day change the world? Marilyn had also experienced that feeling of abandonment that we all could experience, but no one could have guessed that this pain would transform her into one of the world's most powerful women. In 1942, when she was only 16 years old, Norma Jeane married James Doherty on June 19th, seemingly establishing a normal housewife life. But those photographs taken while working at the factory changed everything. The photographer behind the lens was shocked when he discovered the young woman's natural appeal. He didn't know yet that this discovery would trigger one of Hollywood's greatest transformations. This was exactly when Norma Jeane began to die and Marilyn Monroe began to be born. When the first modeling jobs came, the artist within Norma Jeane was awakening. But this transformation wouldn't be easy. When she dyed her hair platinum blonde, she now saw someone completely different in the mirror she looked at. If you were in her place, would you have the courage to change your true identity so radically? In 1926, Marilyn signed her first film contract, but she hadn't even appeared on the big screen yet. While trying to adapt to the ruthless rules of the studio system, her internal struggle had also begun. But she hadn't taken her biggest test yet. The deals she made with Columbia Pictures and later 20th Century Fox introduced her to small roles. Her performance in Ladies of the Chorus attracted attention, but the real explosion point would come later, because Marilyn wanted much more than just being a beautiful face. At that time, no one knew that this determined young woman would soon become the world's most talked about name. Everything changed in the 1950s. Even her small role in All About Eve was enough to catch people's attention. But her real breakthrough came with Niagara. Marilyn appearing on screen in that red dress was no longer just an actress, but a phenomenon. What you're seeing now is nothing because the peak of her career was just beginning. With films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire, Marilyn Monroe was now A-list. But the price of this success was heavy. Studio bosses wanted to see her only in sexy blonde roles. Marilyn's real dream, however, was to do serious acting. At that time, no one could have predicted that this conflict would nearly drive her crazy. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio on January 14, 1954, revealed one of the biggest contradictions in Marilyn's life. America's baseball legend was uncomfortable with his wife's sexy image, especially when that famous subway exit scene was being filmed. Joe's anger reached its peak. The fight between the two, when the camera stopped rolling, shocked everyone. The marriage lasted only 274 days. But this short period had taught Marilyn something important. True love requires loving her for being Norma Jeane, not because she's Marilyn Monroe. She would carry the pain of this realization in her heart. Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail. Marilyn wasn't just a beautiful and sexy woman. She was also intelligent, well-read, and art-loving. She read Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and built her own library. But the media only talked about her body measurements. This injustice was consuming her from within. In 1955, she began serious acting training by joining the Actors Studio. While working with Lee Strasberg, Marilyn's true potential emerged. But the studio system still wanted to see her in comedy films. This tension was beginning to wear her down psychologically. Her marriage to Arthur Miller on June 29, 1956, was a period that nourished Marilyn's intellectual side. The famous playwright was one of the rare people who noticed not just her beauty, but also her intelligence. But this marriage wasn't trouble-free either, because when Arthur's notes about Marilyn came to light, everything changed. With films like The 7-Year Itch and Some Like It Hot, Marilyn earned the title of Comedy Queen. Working with Billy Wilder gave her different perspectives on acting. But Marilyn still dreamed of acting in drama films. By the 1960s, the internal conflict Marilyn was experiencing had reached its peak. Her alcohol and drug use had increased. She began arriving late to sets, sometimes not coming at all. You won't believe it. But there were much deeper reasons behind these behaviors. The filming of Something's Got to Give in 1962 ended in disaster. Due to Marilyn's constant sick leaves and the problems she created on sets, she was fired on June 8, 1962. She was later rehired, but it was too late. This incident became the turning point in Marilyn's career. But what really needs to be discussed are the allegations about Marilyn's relationship with the Kennedy family. That famous Happy Birthday, Mr. President song she sang at President John F. Kennedy's birthday party wasn't just a performance. The speculations about what happened behind the scenes were much more complex. The allegations of a relationship with Robert Kennedy could have been the most controversial part of Marilyn's life. These alleged close ties with the Attorney General created concern in political circles. You haven't heard Marilyn's biggest secret yet. During those final weeks, Marilyn's behavior was concerning to everyone. She was constantly calling Dr. Ralph Greenson. Her sessions with psychiatrist Dr. Hyman Engelberg had become more frequent. It was as if she was about to make a big decision. On the evening of August 4th, 1962, Marilyn spoke with her publicist Pat Newcomb for the last time. She was very tense and anxious that day. Her housekeeper, Mrs. Murray, said that the light from Marilyn's room stayed on until late at night. But when that light went out, a legend also came to an end. When she was found the morning of August 5th, the official cause of death was announced as a barbiturate overdose. But the details of that night, the late calling of the ambulance, the deletion of some phone records, and similar events gave birth to conspiracy theories. The details that emerged when they thought it was over were shocking. Marilyn Monroe's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was also a critique of the system. How Hollywood consumed women, how the media tortured celebrities, how society ignored real people crushed under beauty standards. We could see all of this in Marilyn's life. Everyone thought they knew Marilyn Monroe, but nobody had known the real Norma Jeane, that small, fragile woman who sought love and wanted to be understood. Behind that perfect image under the stage lights was a person who had fears that we all could experience. Marilyn Monroe, who died at 36, wasn't just an actress. She was the symbol of an era, women's empowerment, finding their own voices, being able to stand up to the system. She had paid for all of this with her own body. Even today, when we talk about Marilyn Monroe, we only discuss her beauty. But she was also an intellectual woman who founded her own production company and took the art of acting seriously. How does Hollywood history remember her? Who was the real Marilyn? Her struggle continues today. Every female actress, every celebrity, every media figure faces similar pressures that Marilyn experienced. These pressures have intensified even more in the social media age. Marilyn Monroe's story isn't just a Hollywood legend. It's a deep lesson about human nature. The darkness behind the brightness, the price of success, protecting one's true identity. We see all of this in her life. The greatest irony is this: Marilyn Monroe was truly understood after her death. That strong, fragile, intelligent woman was finally able to make her voice heard. Perhaps this was her final gift to the world.